I had all the Glenn. He's like, I told him, "Are you joining?" He's like, "We're not recording until Friday." Like, it's Friday, dummy. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be right on."
Check your calendar.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 1 of 2024. Happy New Year, and as a reminder, 2024 is a leap year.
No kidding.
It's
Really?
it's the year of the kitty
Yeah.
cat.
Oh man. No, kitty cat? That's not the year. That's wrong. Is it?
Prove me
No,
wrong.
Brian's
Go check.
making stuff up.
Yeah.
Probably.
The host of the podcast will be participating in Dry January, so feel free to follow along too if you want the challenge.
Hey, we're also doing a body weight fitness challenge too.
That's true. Yeah, I'll do it.
Chris
too. I just
seems
don't have a
less
chin-up
excited
bar.
about that.
It'll be
How
good.
could you not try and figure out what to do for pull-ups in replacement of since you don't have anything to pull up on?
He's gonna do
I'll figure it
self
out.
tugs.
Thank God.
With me, I have my co-host, Uncle Barbecue, whose New Year's resolution is to help more with the production of the podcast.
Ooh.
I feel like I'm doing all the work already, so I don't know what you mean by more. I couldn't possibly do anything more.
Stars of shows don't have to do much, right? They just
you
show
just
up and
show up
Just the talent.
and look sexy.
the talent.
Yeah.
That's it.
And we have Glenn Medina, or should we call him Jolly Saint Nick?
Always jolly. God darn it.
Yeah, and you had to write a few letters this year.
I did.
Yeah, can you explain that to me? What do you mean you write letters for you?
Hey! We don't do that. Right? Not under the cast. All right.
All right.
For those of you out there that are listening, there is a Santa Claus. Santa Claus needs help sometimes, and so, like I said, you just got to believe, and hopefully Santa Claus will get you something really nice this year or next year. Excuse me.
The thing I don't
Not it's a
understand,
lump of coal.
Yep.
like I understand that you can write letters to Santa. I didn't know that Santa actually wrote back. Is this because I'm on the naughty list or what?
Well, yeah, because you've always been on the naughty list.
Do your kids receive a letter from Santa, boys?
Yeah, they get a letter from Santa.
They do? What
they
the hell?
Yeah, they got.
Oh my God.
yeah, a letter from Santa. Do you think, Brian, that it might be that you just have trouble reading?
What do you mean reading? If I can write, I can obviously read.
Yeah. Well, do you go to the bottom where it says like "sincerely from Santa"?
I have no idea what you guys are talking about right now.
He never makes it past the first sentence.
Yeah.
Dear Brian.
Like this guy
Dear
already.
Mr. Deitch.
We have a very special guest for the first episode of 2024. This is our first guest that's related to one of the hosts. Our first CFO guest is none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Keelan Deitch, Brian's brother. Keelan, would you like to introduce
JDT.
yourself?
Yeah. First, I just want to say thanks for starting this podcast a little late. My oldest had a hard time getting to sleep tonight, and I don't get it because I can do it with my eyes closed. But I'm
You're a
Brian's-
parent.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's your
I can sleep
superpower.
now. But yeah, I'm Brian's brother. I'm his, as you can tell, his younger, more attractive brother.
With hair still.
With
Clearly,
a little bit. I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on. I'm the CFO for a private equity portfolio company. The name of the company is Kelvix. I've been there for about 3 years. Since 2020, we've doubled revenue in those 3 years, and since 2021, we've made about 20% increase to the EBITDA profile as well. So, company's on a really great trajectory the last 3 years, with a runway to double the company again in about 5 years. So, before Kelvix, I was the controller for an industry-leading aviation distributor. That company experienced about 25% CAGR in the 6 years during my tenure. Got my start in college at a really as a junior accountant, basically, for a real estate HOA management company. It wasn't my gig. However, I just worked my way up the chain until I got to be in the situation I am now.
Then you work for the enemy,
Nice.
the HOA.
Yeah, I was the accountant for the HOA. Yeah, that was not a great place to start.
Is it true the gates of hell are locked from the inside?
Keep people from coming out.
Right.
Yeah. So we've got our first CFO, who's not only just a CFO, but also at a private equity firm who does a lot of investments. What type of investments does your company do?
So I'm the company that acquired Kelvix is called Core Industrial Partners, and they do light manufacturing here in the lower middle market in the United States. So they're invested into like lighting and other types of light manufacturing here in the States.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the portfolio company I work for specifically is linear LED lighting.
Oh,
yep.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So like the stuff that's in the champagne room?
Yeah, the stuff that's in the champagne room, casinos, sports complexes, architectural lighting. Yep.
Could you do the ball in Las Vegas if you wanted to?
Yeah, we actually had a specification.
Sphere?
Yeah,
the sphere,
we had a specification for a small piece of that
ball.
In Vegas. Unfortunately, we didn't win the spec, but we could do something of that size, or excuse me, of that scope. Maybe not that size of a project.
Maybe two of them.
Yeah, that thing's pretty
one
massive.
that hangs lower than the other.
Yeah, that thing's massive.
Okay.
That's what she said.
Well, I've always wanted to know what Brian would look like with hair, and he refuses to wear a wig or a toupee, so seeing Keelan gives us a glimpse of that.
Yeah, I've always wondered what Brian looked like with hair too, because it's been 20 years.
Oh, easily longer than that, probably. Yeah.
I think Brian sent us a picture. I think it was his senior prom. I think that's the only picture of it I've ever seen of Brian with hair.
There was one of me and him together at like the Grand Canyon, and I had like bleach blonde hair.
Yeah, and
back in the day,
and glasses.
Like Eminem.
Bleach blonde.
Yeah, he's wear glasses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
he wears
Did he have a
glasses.
pink
This guy's
cap?
talking crap for no reason.
Did he have a pink camera with him too at that time?
Oh boy, no.
It came later, I think, Glenn.
No one knows what pink camera means, boys. Do yourself.
So I'm looking at the Zoom, and I see you guys standing next to each other. I take it, Brian, you're sitting down, and Brian is standing up. Is that what it is? Because Brian's pretty tall. So how tall is Keelan?
I feel like that's a dig. I am.
Get a screenshot.
I'm 5'9". Brian is on his tiptoes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now I am.
Yeah. I feel like
How's my butt smell down there, buddy?
Standing up, I feel like I'm your son. Like I'm like your 8-year-old son.
It looks like that.
Yeah.
Basically, because I am 7 years older than you, and a lot more gray.
Yeah.
7 years, man, that's awesome.
Difference.
Well, at least you guys are talking. I'm not talking to my brother. I'd like to just punch him straight in the gonads if I could. So I hope you're listening, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, cover your balls. He's coming for you.
It's true. I haven't talked to my sister since way before the pandemic, so it's been a while too.
Look at you guys all dysfunctional and stuff. I'll tell you what, there's people in Arizona know how to keep it together.
Yeah,
like you guys.
I feel fortunate. Brian's a great brother. He's a great uncle to my kids. Despite all of his shortcomings, he's a relatively good sibling.
Relatively.
Relatively.
Combined, we have decades of information security and finance experience and are here not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got an amazing show for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. New year, new beginnings. This is the first episode I'm recording at the new house. We've talked about it quite a bit on the show, so I finally moved in.
Don't you mean the
might-
old house that you've had for 2 years that you finally moved into? You weirdo.
New compared to the other place I live
I
at.
swear. If
I
had
think
your
you
money,
could have
I'd
tore
throw
it
my money
down
away.
and built a new one faster than the whole remodel process.
So funny enough, there's a house up the hill from me that did that. They tore it, not even to the studs, they tore it to the foundation, and they rebuilt it before we finished ours.
I still think that Glenn, myself, and maybe even Tosh just went to your house and helped you move instead of making your poor wife go back and forth 1,200 times in a Tesla and a Ford Festiva. What was it? What's the other car? Fusion?
Leaf.
Honda Civic? Leaf?
Yeah.
The Honda,
It's a
Nissan Leaf.
Nissan
Yeah,
Leaf,
carry
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Carries one box at a time.
Yeah, and then it drains the battery. They got to charge it for 10 hours before they can drive it again.
What matters is we're here now. You might notice I sound a little bit different. I'll be working on that over the next few weeks to improve my audio.
And
Chris
he
is
doesn't have
fake
he doesn't have
audio.
virtual background anymore either, too.
I don't. I'm not ashamed of my office, even though it's messy right now. I'm gonna fix that. Like I have a spindle of Cat 6. And I'm gonna cut every cord the exact length it needs to be.
So for everyone listening, Chris always hides his background because he's a legitimate hoarder. Like I had seen it once. He came off, or he joined a Zoom like on accident without the background on, and it was just like stacks of shoeboxes everywhere and dirty socks.
Well, those shoe boxes had nothing but new shoes inside of them.
I actually have a walk-in closet now. Yeah, so I have a place to
nice.
store said shoes.
Mr. Fancy Pants. Yeah. Speaking of which, how many shoes did you bring on this vacation for 3 days?
Two pairs of shoes.
You look like you have like 8.
I bought a pair of flip-flops too.
I saw his flip-flops. I thought it was his 5-year-old son's, but it was actually his. It's adorable.
Yeah.
Well, it was Brian's like a 14. Yeah. What size are you, Brian? Are you 14, 15?
13 Nikes, 12 in Adidas.
Yeah, that's not your IQ.
No, it's not. Yeah. Nothing but love between the Deitch brothers. I have casted 0 aspersions towards him so far, and he just keeps on attacking me.
Yeah.
That's rare for Brian.
This is my love language. So
Brian is rarely showing restraint right now.
Well, I want him to come back. I actually like my nephew. That's why.
Normally, there's a couple swear words already, and I think I've done more than he has on the show so far.
I was advised to mind my P's and Q's, so doing my best.
Chris will edit it out. Don't worry.
I do.
Shit, yeah.
I have the censor button ready and waiting. Well, we like to grill our guests at the top of the show. Keelan, I see you served in the Air Force, stationed in Alaska. So first, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And second, what was life in Alaska like?
Oh my gosh, you throw me back. So this was 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago that I was in Alaska. Yeah. So it was first off, it was cold, which is like the most obvious thing when you think of Alaska.
Yeah.
But
Moose
also
walking around.
Yeah, I was in Anchorage, which is, in all things considered, an Arizona boy moving to Alaska. I felt like Anchorage was relatively temperate. Like it was cold, but it was bearable. And it was almost, it was so cold in those areas that it was like a show of like strength to like not wear sweaters or a jacket, But occasionally it got cold enough where you like had to be in full winter garb. I'd say a highlight of my Alaska trip was probably Arctic survival training in Fairbanks in like January or February when it was -40. And you have to build a snow fort and like catch a rabbit, or you're gonna, not eat for 3 days.
And that was like 2 weeks before he was being discharged from the military forever. They made him do the training.
Yeah, it was 6 months before I was leaving.
Months.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But
yeah, Alaska
you got to
was
experience that.
Yeah,
that's cool. You get stuck in the snow, you know what to do.
Yeah, and within the Air Force, I think the coolest thing was getting a flight in an F-15 Eagle and going like the speed of sound and hitting 9Gs and
not throwing up.
Did you black out?
Or
did you have the pressure suit?
Yeah, I had the pressure suit, but I didn't like zip it up correctly. And when I took it off and I went back to like my dorm room or whatever, I just had popped blood vessels all down my legs, like thousands of them. Because the blood rushed so fast. But it was really, really an incredible experience. Like it's like, who's been in the back seat of an F-15E that's not that's not a pilot or a Wizzo. It's like me and Tom Cruise. So that was pretty fun.
Oh, the twins.
Yeah, the twins. Yeah.
Or is it Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
So Keelan said that it was very much similar to driving in a Rivian.
Yeah, the feeling, that initial 0-60 feeling, where you're that reminded me of it.
Yeah. So I have a saying, because I spent some time in the military. I have a saying. I don't mind cold. I don't mind wet. I hate being cold and wet. Do you have that same sentiment?
Yeah, cold, wet, and hungry. I won't do all three. I won't do more than 2 at once. Yeah.
There you go.
They all kind of lend themselves to each other, right? Yeah. If you're wet and you're cold, you're usually hungry, or if you're wet and hungry, that means you're cold. Well, not necessarily, I guess.
Yeah, I'm in Portland. It rains, and you could not be. It's it can be temperate there and rain. Yeah.
Well, homie came over to our house, ate dinner, and then later on that night he ate another dinner, had like chips and salsa, and then later on that he's like, "Oh, it wasn't a bonigas. What was the soup? Pozole.
Pozole, yeah.
And then did you have another dinner after that?
No, I think I had like just some gummy bears or something.
Yeah, he's like $1.70.
Yeah,
He's
shredded.
Are you part Hobbit? Like you just have
Right,
multiple dinners?
Yeah,
But what of second
Shredded.
dinner?
yeah,
That's an interesting shredded.
Yeah.
I saw you at the pool today.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, used to be.
Yeah. So the only picture I ever got from Keelan when he was in Anchorage, it was like, I don't know, I think it was at the time where it's like daylight 23 hours a day, and he's on top of a house with two 40s. He was doing Edward 40 hands, and the 40s were duct taped to his hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you drinking so early in the day? That's the only thing I knew about.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 11 at night. I bet.
Yeah, it was 11 at night. Yeah, I'd say that part too was crazy because people would be legitimately doing yard work at 11 at night. It just because it would be like,
yeah.
it's something, you know.
Like, why not?
Sunlight.
Yeah.
I've been to Anchorage, and it's a crazy feeling to not have the sun go down, like, but for dusk, right? And then you come back up, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Iceland was like that when you were there. When you were you golfing at like 10 p.m.
Midnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
midnight golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I honeymooned in Iceland.
There you go.
Really?
Where'd you guys go? Reykjavik? Yeah.
Yeah, we went the whole south side of the island. We were there for like 10 days.
Nice.
Yeah. What branch of service were you in?
Army.
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 Cool. Thank you.
I was on 91 Echo X2.
Nice.
So
Was a-
I cut grass my first year. So
yeah, I did a lot of snow shoveling too. Yeah.
He was supposed to be a dentist. Fun fact.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Didn't have the smarts or what, buddy?
I got tired of looking at people's nasty mouths, and I said, "There's got to be a better way to make money."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, here you are.
Let me go shoot a gun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go sell software.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't sell software when I first started. I was a bartender. Going back to school, I was just going to be some guy doing IT stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Look at us now.
yeah.
All grown up.
Hopefully getting ready to retire soon.
Yeah, I think Glenn
You
will
can't
be the
retire.
first
Too
of us
young,
to
Glenn.
retire.
I know. Trying, Brian. Every day I try.
All right, next question. So, Keelan, I noticed on LinkedIn, and you also mentioned that you started off as an accountant and worked your way all the way up to chief financial officer, so living the dream there. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to junior accountants just starting out?
I think, accounting is kind of a grueling profession, and people talk a lot about I don't know this new generation about what they want to do with their life, but if you want to be a really successful, I think this probably applies to other aspects of life too, but especially in accounting. If you want to be successful, I think you have to make hard work your passion. Like you just have to want to work hard and work harder than everybody else. To take it a step kind of further, I think the kids getting into college at a young age really need to be prepared to love spreadsheets, love numbers. And, a traditional path in accounting is to get out and get into audit where you could be no stranger to 100-hour weeks. So you have to be very prepared for that. And you have to have, the right kind of family set up to support that level of work for sure.
What do you think about these companies that go public and then they have to do an earnings announcement and they're turning that stuff around like between 2 weeks to 6 weeks after a quarter closes? Do you think that's crazy?
Yeah, for a publicly traded company to turn their financials around that quickly is pretty crazy. Our private equity company has a requirement of basically the 15th of every month we have to report on the prior week's or the prior month's results. However, we really know, within a very close percentage of how we're going to land top line and bottom line before the month even closes. So the part of the month end close process is just tying everything together and making sure there's no surprises.
Yeah, I imagine it's only like the last days of numbers is all you're looking for, right? Because you've already got, let's say, the previous 21 days or the previous quarter's information.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Before you announce anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Should be no surprise.
If there is a surprise, the CFO is doing something wrong.
Yeah.
What would a surprise be, though? Would it be like a clawback, or would it be just a huge deal coming in last minute?
There could, on our end, it could vary. Let's say you guys went out on a deal where you had to throw a huge discount on a project. right? And that might compress your margins. That could be a surprise, right? In my ball game, we have a really significant variable. I won't get into too much of the details. That's related to how we incentivize our agent network, and we can have swings on a project where the margin profile goes from an acceptable 30% EBITDA profile to 5 or 10% based off of those incentives. So we have to know those 3 months before that project ships, so we can begin to layer in how we're going to plan the month and plan the quarter, so that one project or that one job doesn't wreck the results of that period.
Yeah. So just talking about that, would you, if you've got a quarter end close or year end close, would you rather it slip and keep margins, or take it in and get a lower margin?
So when you're saying top line, would you rather top line slip?
Yeah.
So this is
top line or bottom line revenue. Yeah.
This is a great question, and the CEO would probably tell you, I don't want to slip, get the revenue in. We've got to meet growth expectations for the board. And CFO will tell you, we've got to meet EBITDA expectations for the board. So that's where you got to be working together as a team. I don't think I've ever worked for a CEO who wasn't so focused on revenue that they would accept some margin slippage. Which isn't necessarily a great thing, but it's also not a bad thing. You just got to figure out how to message it to the board, and it can't be, it can't always happen. It can't be at the new norm.
Is the board like a group of kindergartners, highly emotional? Is that way, so you have to structure it in a way that's like upset them? What's going on?
No, in my experience, the board is all very well educated and has a lot of experience managing businesses of all sizes. So when, at least in my world, they buy a company based off of the growth or the margin profile of the company. And their expectations are to maintain that growth profile and that margin profile throughout. If you're not, it's a signal that maybe we're pulling the wrong levers in the company to drive growth that are being too costly to the bottom line.
I mean, it's the wrong company or a wrong fit for
you're
not getting the synergies.
Yeah, or maybe the CEO's doing the wrong, has the wrong kind of idea of what to optimize for.
Yeah, I worked for a company one time. I was in the accounting department, and one of the end of quarter surprises one time was the payroll numbers that were coming in. I guess the API key to our third-party payroll company expired or something, and the payroll numbers weren't updating, but they were still doing budgets, assuming this constant payroll number wasn't growing. So at the end of the quarter, I flagged. I said, the payroll number's been the same for the last 3 months. Something's wrong here. And then they kind of went into crisis mode that says, we need to readjust everything, and we made assumptions based on these. Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
So do you do a significant amount? Oh my God, can you talk? Do you do a significant amount of hiring and firing as a CFO? Speaking of heads will roll.
So Kelvix has maintained about 60 people. We're a relatively small company. We've maintained about 60 people the last 3 years. I'm involved in every hiring and firing, and that I need to approve of every single one. I've had to do my fair share of firings or reductions in forces.
Promoted a customer.
Don't love those. Those are always really difficult. The hiring process, I feel like I've been very fortunate, and we've made a few key hires that have stayed. At least on the accounting team, and I've also been involved on some of the hires for the really important kind of sales leaders in the company, and they've been very effective. For our manufacturing staff or for some of their entry level positions, I'm not as involved.
Isn't it kind of crazy that you've been keeping 60 people, but your year-over-year growth has been so highly exceptional?
Yeah, and that's one reason why we've been able to improve the margin profile over a significant period of time.
Yeah, is that revenue per employee?
People? Like what's? Yeah.
Well, yeah, people are staying, and they're doing.
They just take on more work. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, and you know what? From my perspective, I feel like a lot of companies have a lot of bloat, where we have people doing things that aren't adding value. Like everyone should be working on what is adding value. Are you either driving top line, or are you optimizing costs in some manner? And if you're not, then that position is likely redundant. So at our scale, at our size, it's easy to recognize At a bigger company, it's probably much more difficult.
And I think this year specifically, and probably the end of 2022, Elon Musk proved that. He bought Twitter, laid off 90% of the staff, and it's still up. Everyone says, the sky's falling. This is the worst thing ever. Twitter's going to crash and burn. Like, no, it's running just fine after a relatively high reduction in force. It was just completely bloated. Like
not
you
only
said.
that, he's going to rename it. And then
Yeah.
still going strong.
Well, didn't they optimize some level of the operations of the business too? Where you guys are tech guys, you probably know this better than I do. Where things were running more efficiently in the background as well.
Yeah,
Well, I think of that with just all the people that were sitting there judging people's posts.
Yeah.
The auditors behind it didn't need that anymore, right? So
he brought in like Tesla engineers to tell people from a car company how to write software. But I'm like, Tesla's they're a software company. Tesla's a computer on wheels. So yeah, that definitely translated over. And then, like Glenn said, there was just people on there. The Twitter file showed this that says, there's moderators that are just looking for things to take down and handling government requests to take down. And Elon's like, we don't need that, so they got rid of them. And Twitter is it's still around. Yeah.
Yeah, right there on Facebook. Can you imagine, like, a year before Tesla took over, or Elon took over, Thanksgiving dinner? He's like, yeah, Mom, I know you like me working for the FBI, but now I work for Twitter. And I just approve posts all day, and I get paid a buttload. No, I'm not worried about my job ever going away.
I'm guaranteed. I've got this.
Yeah, this is... You don't understand, Mom. I am needed.
Yeah. My job's important.
All right, switching over to a more personal question. At what age did you realize Brian's ego got to the size where he proclaimed himself to be an all-around good guy and the cloud god?
Well, one thing I'll say is the all-around good guy thing. Brian's always been a relatively, good guy. I remember when I was a kid, I was a smaller guy, right? And if there were any bullies in school, Brian would have no problem intimidating them, and it worked every time. So that way,
if I was ever in a bar fight, I would 100% want Brian on my side.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I don't know.
I want Keelan on my side.
I can talk you out of that fight. I can get us right out of there, I promise.
Let's talk about bottom line growth.
Yeah. And I think his ego probably improved or grew as he scaled his development into the IT realm. I remember when he had a company or a business called I Make It Look Easy. Do you remember that?
You're really outing me right now.
Yeah. It was like imile.com. And he would just fix old ladies' computers for like $200 an hour. So that was probably when I knew he was really tech savvy. Yeah.
It's like half elder abuse, half entrepreneur, I guess.
Yeah.
It was an untapped market, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's true. You were filling a need. You're doing the Lord's work. Yeah, we don't want grandma getting fish. We don't want her sending her life savings to a scammer in India. So
what's funny is one time I went to this lady's house to fix her computer, and she's like, you should really meet my granddaughter. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what would ever happen. And then years later, that turned out to be my wife's grandma.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was what was that? That there's a K-drama exactly like that story. I'll have to look it up. It was a pretty famous K-drama maybe like 20 years ago. It was a similar thing.
On the all-around good guy thing, I received a phone call from someone that I kind of respect at my current job. This is a couple years ago. And she said, anytime a man says that they're an all-around good guy, they most certainly are not. And I was like, huh.
What?
Yeah, and so I was like, I kind of respect your thing on that. So I took it off the old profile and got rid of it and switched it to Cloud God.
Being a dad, I'm a new dad. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, soon to be 3 and 5. But I think one good measure of a man is like how well do his family and his kids like him. And Brian's family loves him. His kids are here. They laugh with him. And they're 18, 19 years old. They don't have to be here anymore. When I was 18 and 19 years old, I ran away to the military to get away from my family, right? So
Yeah.
Glenn feels that pain.
Yeah.
I know.
And
I think Brian's kids like to stick around because they get free cash and food.
Daddy's money.
He made them pay to come see me in Oregon. They had to pay for the Oregon trip.
It's
Really?
true, yeah.
That's not actually true.
Brian tells us all the time. It's like, yeah, I could have paid for it, but no, I made him pay for it. It's a good life lesson.
Yeah.
All right. Can you tell me a time that you did something behind Brian's back that he doesn't know about today?
Oh, shoot.
Keelan just put his head down.
Take his toothbrush and shove it between your armpit or something like that. And then
This man had the same stories.
Yeah, I never did that to my brother, but that was something I definitely did to my parents. Growing up, they were the aggressors. Brian was just there to egg me on. But no, I think when you were out of the house, I was 11, so I wasn't in my mischievous phase. But Brian was like the first person to buy me booze, to get me drunk.
Nice.
So,
good brother.
Yeah.
Teach you the responsible drinking, hopefully.
Yeah.
No. You want to tell the story?
I don't know if it's podcast worthy.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely was a miss.
Yeah.
Tell it.
Okay. So I was 15 and a half, and that number is important. The half number is important because I just got my driver's permit.
Your permit.
And Brian bought a friend of mine, I think not much booze, like a 6-pack of Bud Lights and 2 aftershocks, those little aftershock shooters, yeah. And we drank those, and then my parents weren't home that night. My buddy and I were like, hey, let's go for a drive. So we did that. We drove. Thank God nothing happened. I don't recommend doing this, guys. Anyone listening? We did that, and then at one point in the drive, a cop pulled behind us. And I was like, oh, I'll be... I don't want to look suspicious. I'm just going to pull into this random car lot in the middle of the night and get away from the cop. And I did, got away with it. And then the next morning, woke up with a ton of regret and a good story. So
that night that I gave it to him, I was like, dude, just drink it, enjoy it, do not drive. And I feel like had I not say don't drive, the idea never would have went into his head.
Yeah.
One rule.
Yeah, I can be a little oppositional. So you tell me I have to do something, I'm gonna tell you that I can't.
There you go.
Yeah, it's parenting 101. Don't tell kids not to do something. Tell them to do the positive thing, not to do the negative thing.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's all right. Brian wasn't a parent back then that he knows of, at least.
Yeah. Well, as an older brother, you probably would have been there for him anyway, right, Brian? If anything happened to him, you would have made pretend you were his dad.
You would have bailed
walked
him
in
out
there and says, "Hey,
Dude,
what are
I
you
was
doing, my
gone.
son?"
I dropped off, and
Yeah.
I went back down to the valley. I was like 90 minutes away.
Yeah, it's a small town, Arizona. They probably would have just, a few months after that, the cops picked me up for drinking, and they literally just drove me home.
The good old days.
It's a different time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the good old days.
And by the way, like the route, the cruise route in Globe, Arizona, goes right by the police station. Like, and he's over here cruising the cruise. The
15.
Yeah, 15 and a half. Yeah. So doesn't even have a license yet. Taking advantage of the world.
Yeah. I'm much more.
What happened to that
now.
car, Keelan?
I totaled it.
How did you total the car?
I drove it into a pole in a Jack in the Box parking lot.
Was the pole moving?
The pole's not moving, and I high centered the car. And then I got out and tried to tip the car off of the pole.
Were you trying to go through the drive-through, or
I wanted a lemonade.
Liar, you
Was
went
it a
tacos.
Pontiac? I think Brian told this story.
Yeah, it was a Pontiac Sunfire.
It was a Pontiac? Yeah, the
Convertible.
Sunfire.
Yeah, it's great.
What could have been?
Nice.
Yeah, and
How
then
long did you have that car?
like 6 months, and then I had 6 cars before I was 18.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
New or fixer-uppers, or you were
all
just
pieces of crap.
trying to wheel and deal?
Well,
You're just,
every time I made a mistake, my parents would sell the car, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm good now," and then they'd buy a new one. I'd get them,
That's awesome.
Did Brian ever offer to hack into the school computer system and change your grades for you?
No, thank goodness. I probably needed it in high school and college. I was a relatively good student. However, one time I was driving down from Flagstaff, Arizona, where I went to college, down to Phoenix to catch a flight to Portland, and totaled another car and missed my flight. And Brian, I don't know how he did it, but he got my name on a flight without me paying for it. I think you worked at Apollo Group, or I think you worked at Apollo Group at the time. And
U.S. Airways?
U.S. Airways.
Yeah.
U.S. Airways maybe. And you got me on the flight. I just walked up and I was like, "Hey, I'm Keelan. I'm here for my flight," and I got on the flight. So that was pretty cool.
All around good guy.
Yeah, all around good brother.
Yeah.
So, well, you know what's crazy about this is, so I've told the story about hacking when I was younger, right? The high school computer. So Paul Schmieke, like, rest in peace. Unfortunately, he decided to take his own life earlier this year. He was in the same grade as my little brother, and like he was like running his own like website server. Like we somehow traded emails, and so I passed the information on to him about. I was like, yeah, this is how I got into the computers. And at this point in time, when he took over, it was really easy because he was in the media department, and laptops were a little bit more accessible. So he didn't need to have like possession of a teacher's computer. He was just able to plug right into the network and then install the program, log right in. Like, so the same passwords that I used back in the day were still being used,
Still in use
7 years later.
That's awesome.
No
Still
port
taped under the
security
keyboard.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Same ancient old program. Yeah.
It's that K through 12 IT security budget.
Yeah, speaking of which, I remember getting Keelan on Napster or LimeWire or something like that, and warning you about viruses and stuff. He's
Did he
like,
destroy the family computer?
He's like, no. He's like, I got Dell rollback or something like that. Like, you could, I forget what the program was. He's like, no, anytime the computer boots or screws up, Ryan, I just reboot it and I hit the space bar and it comes right back to a state before it was screwed up. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah.
I see Glenn copying the link that I told him not to look at before the show.
I was just highlighting it, seeing what you would say.
Big Brother's always watching.
Big Brother's always watching.
All right, am I copying it now too?
If you had a browser that you could protect that against, that's how you couldn't copy it out and paste it into something else.
Browsers are stupid.
Yeah. If I can get some free licenses, I'll be happy to beta test it for you.
Just for you.
That's what it is, beta testing.
All right. I think let's move on to the one topic I did have planned for the first episode. So
Okay.
Keelan joining was a last minute call, so call an audible, and we thought we would interview the Deitch brothers here. But I did have this story because it is relevant to the first episode of the year. It actually would have probably been better for our end of year episode, but we recorded that in November, so the data wasn't out yet. But for our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week, this week we're going to talk about the 2023 year in trends according to Google. So Google is the largest data aggregator. They have so much data on all of us, and they compiled the most popular searches for certain categories. So we played this game, I think it was last year or the year before, but I think it'll be fun to see who can guess the top news stories and people searches throughout 2023. So I know the answers because I'm going to be reading them, and the three of you will guess to see if you can guess the top 5 in each category, or at least some of them.
Okay, so you're going to give us a category. We're going to, like, so you say acquisitions, we'd be like, or then I guess the answer would be like Twitter, right?
Yeah, so Splunk getting acquired.
Is this the latest news or all of 2023?
All of 2023.
All of 2023.
So that's why they call it a year in review.
Yeah.
I might, but
All right, so you could sort by country or do global, but for the purpose of this segment, I'm limiting only to searches in the United States because that's where most of our
only
audience
matters
is, and
here.
that's where all the hosts are right now.
But for the
All right.
listeners abroad, we love you.
We do.
That's right. So U.S. only.
U.S. only.
America.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, top search in news. I'll go to top 10, and I'll let you know if you hit any of them.
When Deitch got his Rivian and his Bronco.
That was big news.
And his Tesla. So was that all this year? Was that all this year?
Was there a school shooting at all this year? I don't remember. Usually it's a couple.
Well, we've had 2 wars for sure. So
Oh, boom! You got it. The
Yeah,
wars.
so he got one of them. War in Israel and Gaza. That was the number 1 news story.
what? Ukraine was not one of them?
Ukraine was not. That was 2022. The counteroffensive happened this year, but not the initial war. I guess people lost
Everyone
interest.
forgot about Russia and Ukraine.
Brian is correct. So number 7 is the Nashville shooting. That was the trans person that shot up a Christian school out in Nashville.
How about China? Anything about China?
Nothing in China. 3 of these are related to a natural disaster, which surprised me. I guess more so because it doesn't really affect us here.
Keelan took a dump
volcano.
earlier. Does that count? That thing was a natural disaster.
Wait.
It was peaks and valleys above the toilet seat.
Actually,
Was it
5 of these
Iceland?
are natural disasters.
Iceland volcano, then the fires in Maui.
Yeah, Maui Fire's number 8.
Oh yeah.
Miami.
Yeah. We're no tsunamis.
I don't think you're gonna get the other 3. So
The
I'll just give it to you.
UFOs. That was big.
No UFOs.
UFA,
The Hurricane
UAG.
Hillary, that's
Hillary?
number 3. Yep, that was the one that hit SoCal in February, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Was
that was a
it
non-event,
on
though.
SKO? Yeah, it was a non-event, but people were afraid, so they searched for it. Hurricane Idalia, never heard of that one, and then Hurricane Lee. So there were 3 hurricanes. So that was 3, 4, and 5 of this
I didn't
year.
Google any of these things at all
Yeah.
this year.
And
No.
I'll just, for purposes of time, I'll give you the last 2. Titanic submarine, that was number 2.
Oh
Ocean Gate.
yeah. Okay, that was
Ocean Gate.
Yeah.
And then number 9 was the murders in Idaho of those university kids.
I
was
just
a
saw they
weird one.
demolished that house.
Oh, did
They
they,
did.
really?
Yeah.
Brian
did? Why?
Cronenberg or whatever. Yep.
Yeah.
That's bad memories, I guess. Bad juju.
Like, do you really want to live in that house? I don't.
Well,
Why was there a dude in there? Was there a dude that was killed?
Yeah, he was sleeping. No, he was sleeping. He
Yeah,
didn't he live?
I think it was a boyfriend of one of the girls that
I
lived
guess
there.
that's the way I want to go out. You know?
They caught the guy, though, right? And his
They
dad.
did, yeah. There's a strange twist to it. Like, this guy there was a Facebook group that followed the investigation and was like internet sleuthing it, and he joined that group to see like how they were doing it and would like feed them little bits of information. And after they found out who did it, they audited his Facebook account and said, yeah, this guy was actively participating in this Facebook group that was trying to chase him down.
Which is like behavior of somebody who's like, that's like people showing up to crime scenes after they've
Returning the
committed a
scene of the crime, exactly.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Netflix special.
Yeah.
Blackbird's
All right.
good. All right, go on, Chris.
Top 10 people searches of 2023.
Tom Cruise.
Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Brian Deitch.
Neither. Nope.
no,
Neither? Taylor Swift?
None of them. Nope. No Taylor Swift.
Kelsey? No. Oh,
Kelsey.
Brock,
number 3,
Brock
Travis
Purdy?
Kelsey.
Travis.
Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy was not under people.
No.
Oh, that must be athletes.
Well, dude died from Friends. That's for sure.
Matthew
There was
Perry.
a couple
Broderick.
deaths.
Yeah, so
Matthew
there is a
the guy
category
from
for
Friends.
there's a category for deaths. Matthew Perry was number 1 search for passings.
Who else? Did we say died this year, or was Biden?
That's-
Is Biden one of them? And Trump?
Trump's got to be up there.
Trump
No?
was not. No,
Wow.
surprising. I think
You suck at
those
this
might
game.
fall under politics. Let me see if there's a politics category. I don't think so. No, no
I guess
Trump,
it's,
no Biden.
I don't understand what the difference between people and celebrities are.
There's nothing
So
different about it.
the category is people, passings, actors, athletes. But there is a little bit of overlap. All right,
Yeah.
so since you guys aren't getting any of these, number 1, Damar Hamlin. I forgot that was in January, but that was
What's
2023.
Damar Hamlin? He had the heart
yeah,
attack.
he had
wasn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
Buffalo
Yeah.
Bills. Yep.
Yeah.
Number 2, Jeremy Renner, which was I think the same week where the
happened?
snowmobile
He got
was-
run over by
snowplow-
his own snowmobile. Yeah.
snowplow. I think fell on his leg, almost lost his leg. Number 3, Travis Kelsey. Number 4, Tucker Carlson. Lil
Tucker
Tay,
Carlson.
I think that's a rapper. Andrew Tate, Brian's favorite guy.
Oh, Top G.
Jamie Foxx. I don't know why Jamie Foxx is in the news yet. Someone can probably tell me why.
did he
But
He probably paid for searches.
Oh, didn't he have COVID and almost died or something? Or he's something happened with him?
might have been. I don't
I have to
remember
Google to
that
find out.
Was the Johnny Depp trials this year?
I don't think so. I think that was
No, I don't think
2022.
so either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to do passings because we covered that on our bonus episode number 2, but it was Matthew Perry, Jerry Springer, Jimmy Buffett, so all the ones that we already hit on. Let's see. This is an interesting top movies of 2023.
Top Gun.
10. That was
Not even close.
2022,
That was such
I
a
believe.
bomb.
Oppenheimer,
That was
yep,
such a
number
bomb.
2.
Lego Batman.
Oppenheimer's number 2.
Barbie, number 1. So Barbie,
Oh,
Oppenheimer,
Keelan
1
is
and
a
2.
movie
Aquaman.
Nope.
Part 2 without what's her name?
Amber Heard, nope.
Killers of the
Amber
Flower
Heard.
Moon.
10.
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, number 3. The Deitch Brothers got 1 through 3. Good job.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
What was number 1?
Barbie.
Oh, Barbie was number 1. What did I watch this year? I didn't watch
Is
anything.
Killers of the Flower Moon not on there?
Not on there.
Wow.
Was it good?
I liked it. Yeah, it's Scorsese and De Niro and Leo. It's great.
And
Oh, I
Leo.
watched that stupid The Marvels. That was a bomb.
There's one Marvel movie on here.
Is there any Pixar
Oh,
movies?
it was the one with the guy from Parks and Rec.
No Pixar.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep, number 5. Good job.
Yeah.
We're killing this.
What's
man.
the Dungeons and Dragons? Is that a movie?
That was a funny one.
That was,
kinda
but not
funny,
on
stupid.
here. All right,
Yeah.
so number 4, you missed Everything Everywhere All at Once. Won many Oscars this year. Number 6, Super Mario.
Oh,
Number
okay.
7,
Okay.
Creed. Number 3. Number 8, John Wick Chapter 4. And then number 10, Cocaine Bear.
None of those are really
Cocaine
like
Bear.
great movies, though, right? I mean, I didn't think any of those were like
I fell asleep
high
in John
grossing.
Wick.
Yeah.
I stopped after the second John Wick.
I don't know how you can fight for 10 minutes and be alive. I'm sorry.
It's a
It
little
just doesn't
over the
have a-
top. I mean, it's entertaining,
Yeah.
but definitely over the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
TV shows,
hear that,
I
everyone?
haven't heard of
Glenn
any
only
of
has
these.
10 minutes of fight in him
Yeah.
at his age.
So for
Yeah.
TV
I'd be
shows,
asleep.
I stay pretty current on TV, but I've only heard of one of the top 10. So I'll throw it to you
New
guys.
or-
See
yeah.
if you guys top
Okay,
searches
Survivor.
2023.
Succession.
No,
Suits.
no.
Breaking Bad.
So I'll give you a hint that one of the top
Wednesday.
searched actors was Pedro Pascal. What was he in last year?
Oh, The Last
Pedro
of Us.
Pascal.
The Viper
Oh, yeah.
of Dorne.
The Last of Us. Yep. Keelan got
Yes,
it.
number 1. His number 1 search show is Last of Us, and it's the only one of the top 10 I've heard of.
All right, then I give up.
What about that one with the actress from it's like the crap? I can see her picture. It's a Netflix special. Wednesday.
Yes, good.
Oh, that was a
Number
good
5.
one.
Yep.
That was a
That-
good
that-
one.
I
think
have
was
heard
last
of
year,
that, but I
though.
haven't
That was
watched
last year, though, right?
That was
That was
this
this
year.
year.
Was that this year?
How
Was
about
that this
the
year?
Righteous Gemstones?
No.
Is that good?
Oh, it's hilarious.
All right, you're never
It's
gonna
got
get
Danny
this.
McBride. He's in there.
Ginny and Georgia, Queen Charlotte, That 90s Show. I didn't know they
Nope.
did a spin-off. Beef, The Idol, The Fall of the House of Usher. None of these ring.
No.
We are disconnected, guys.
Or
It's true.
appropriately
And-
connected? Yeah.
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 The last one will be top search songs of 2023. The first
I thought you said
two-
you were going to do top 10 slut shaming.
not a Google trend.
Oh,
That would be cool
All right,
if it
top-
was, though.
he's number 1.
Top 10 songs of 2023.
I'm not big on songs.
I was thinking of I know Brian, you'll probably know 2 of these. I don't think Glenn listens
I don't
to
think I'll
current
know
music.
any of them. I don't listen to any music.
Unless it's Taylor Swift that my kids listen to or something.
Is there Travis Scott on there at all?
Travis
Pop
Scott
Smoke,
is not on
Travis
here.
Scott.
What's the one that they did the You'll Never Do This in a Small Town?
Good. So you got number 1. Try that in a
Tracy-
small town. Jason
yeah.
Alden.
What's that redhead
Alden,
with
yeah.
the beard?
Oh,
I think
Wise
you're
Men
getting on number 2.
or Richmond north of.
Yeah, Richmond, north of Richmond.
Rich Men North of Richmond. Oliver
Yeah.
Anthony, number 2. So those surprised me because I guess they're controversial songs. So that's why they were searched a lot.
What's funny is who searches for songs? Like old people? Like who doesn't just go to Spotify?
Yeah.
What's trending?
Who goes to Google?
Speaking
One
of
of
which,
these songs is related to a death in 2023. So that person is no longer alive. They died in 2023, and this song was searched after that person's death.
It wasn't Prince. It wasn't who died this last
Oh,
year?
you said it earlier.
Margaritaville. Something.
Margaritaville, good. Number 8.
Yeah, Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett.
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 Okay, I don't think you're gonna get any of the other ones. Unholy by Sam Smith. Ella Baila.
Oh yeah,
Sola,
I know Unholy. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Boy's a Liar by Ice Spice. Pink Panthers. Kill Bill by SZA. I guess SZA's making music again. Cruel Summer.
I don't know if
Taylor
SZA's
Swift.
a boy or girl.
I bet you
SZA,
these
the
songs are probably
Wu-Tang
things
Clan.
tunes that you know.
He's thrown up a W.
Chris, like he's got the one record that's worth like 40 million. That's what he's holding on to.
Yeah, right. I bought it from what's his name, Martin Shkreli.
Yeah.
And then last, Vampire by Olivia Rodrigo, which I know Brian has never heard of.
I
It's-
actually,
it's
my
on the
daughter,
show.
He
likes
sings to it in the shower.
Olivia Rodrigo girl. Yeah. No
Yep,
Ariana Grande on there.
No Ariana Grande.
Dude, she's old school. She's
Yeah.
old now.
My daughter's going
What
to a
about Miley?
concert.
I think Miley's on there, right?
Miley's
Miley.
not on top 10.
No.
Speaking of
Yeah.
top 10, where's our Spotify wrap for the podcast? We need to send that out.
I have that. I just have not gotten around to posting. I can send it to you guys privately, and I'll get around to posting it. But it was a good year. I think we had a good year. We had pretty good growth.
Nice.
Also, notable mention, top 10 musician search, Jason Aldean was number 1. The tried in a small town guy. I don't really recognize any of the other. Well, okay, I recognize a few. Joe Jonas, Oliver Anthony, Ice Spice, Sam Smith.
How about JoJo
No
Siwa?
Taylor Swift. No Jojo Siwa. Oh, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week. Dad joke of the week. This week, our guest Keelan is up.
Go for it.
Well, real quick here, guys. I led with a really bad dad joke. It gained no traction, and I don't think anyone noticed it. But I have a second one. First off, I just want to say, if you're on Instagram, Dad Says Jokes is a great follow. I recommend it.
Dad says joke. All right,
Yeah.
I'll link it through.
Why was the baby jalapeno shivering?
It was
Why
chilly.
was that?
Don't know.
Did you just look at my phone? You just looked at my phone.
That's common sense, dude. Is that what you came up with? That's it?
Right.
He's a little
Brian
chilly.
ruined it.
Gosh.
I'm not really
Oh,
right. He's a
Brian,
half brother for everyone listening.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's a dad 4 times over, so I'm still working on my dad joke game.
No, go back to, you said you led.
What was the
you
answer?
started
What
off-
was the answer?
Oh,
He was a little
Yes.
chilly.
He was a little
Oh.
chilly.
Yeah.
so you said that you started the podcast off with the dad joke. We missed it?
Yeah, it was this one. This is I sometimes I adapt these to my life and how I talk. But here's the joke just in two quick lines. Some people have trouble sleeping, but I can do it with my eyes closed.
Oh, I do remember that.
Oh,
yeah,
I remember you saying that at the
yeah,
beginning.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got one more. Can I do one more?
Yeah,
of
Okay,
course.
okay, time to
Absolutely.
shine here. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
It better be a good one, Keelan, or else we're not having you back.
Yeah, right. Hey, you know what they say, right? Once you've been to one food court, you've been to them all.
Dude, da-da-da. That's good. There you go.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah,
That was a
wah.
good one. And Brian didn't ruin that one.
I did not.
Yeah.
All right, to wrap things up, try that in a small town. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find
That's
us
your
on
wrap up.
LinkedIn,
Try that in
which
a
will
small
be in the
town.
I had like a wrap up for all the other topics we were supposed to, but that's the only pre-prepared topic I had. So I'm like, try it in a small town.
You got a couple small town boys here with you.
Yeah, some good old boys raised up right.
I can tell you, like, that song is like everyone in our hometown. Like, that was like, yeah, well, you know, that's exactly what happens around here.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah,
Right.
Right here.
it's a banger. Yeah, for sure.
Come take my cougars.
Everybody was like, how dare you make fun of us? You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah, this is like, why'd you make a song out of my daily life?
Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. My co-host Brian Deitch, Glenn Medina, and our guest Keelan Deitch. I'm Chris Lloyd. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week, and as always, have a nice day.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Have a nice day.